Hello everyone, this is episode 19. This is going to be 1 year of being sober update.
1 year.
So, I mean, it's a year in the making, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
How long has yours been?
A year, 14 days or something.
Yeah, so I basically started like 3 months after you. So, whatever that works out to. I think you and I being sober is basically a foundational point of the way that we're kind of working on everything and the way that we're looking at everything from here. It seems like a small thing maybe, but it's actually like a transformational change in basically how we operate everything in our lives, especially just because the main thing really in being sober was it's a change in your lifestyle.
I put the whole of this, I sat here right now, this is all because we're sober. We've stayed sober for the past year.
100%.
Everything right now that is here is all because we've stayed sober. Put that all down to that. The journey has been mad, but I'm overly grateful that you stopped as well, because that made it was a lot easier to do it with someone else as well, and to actually like work on things with other people as well. Yeah, it's been fucking.
It's helpful to have someone else, definitely.
Mm.
So where do you want to begin? Where do you want to get this from?
I mean, we can start from, I suppose,
the point you realised when it had to happen.
When I realised it had to happen was, well, I always knew that. Well, I knew because I was doing it when my dad always used to say, when you find yourself doing it by yourself, that's when you know you're fucked, innit?
Yeah.
So, but I was doing that for years. Like, I was doing it for years and years, and it was just fucking up everything. And the point where I really knew that it was time to end was when I like fucked up. So I was grabbing bits basically, and I fucked up the money, and it was like, I don't know, $2,000 or something, and my mum had to bail me out.
When you say doing it on your own,
yeah,
that's kind of a different connotation depending on what drugs you're doing. So
yeah.
do you look at that as just alcohol and like sniffing? When you're sniffing and drinking on your own, that's when it's like, come on, mate.
Yeah.
Because, for example, with magic mushrooms and certain trippers, there's kind of a school of thought of doing it on your own is sometimes better.
Yeah.
I think I kind of look at those a bit differently, though.
The thing is with me is, back when it was about 3 years ago or something, I went out somewhere. I have no recollection of this, but I went out and I basically broke into a burger van and slept in there, and the police got called and everything and whatever. And they actually let me off, but they just were like £500 fine and shit, because I was just like, no, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I just told them the truth and everything, and they were like, all right, well, there's no point in us like taking you to court or anything, or like arresting you because you're just like some drunk kid. And I was like, I was just so grateful and stuff, and I was like, I can't have that happen again. Also, my anxiety was so bad when I'd get on it the next day, because I'd think, what have I said to people?
Yeah.
So that all in my head was just like, okay, I don't want to quit. I can't quit. So the only way for me to do this is to stay in my room by myself.
On your own, yeah.
and that's what I did for every time I'd go out drinking. All I'd be thinking about is like, I just want to go home right now. Like, it'd probably get to about 12 o'clock or whatever, like two maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. We'd go to a mate's house or whatever, and then I'd be like, oh, I'm just going home, boys. And I'd go home and just get on it by myself and just play games. So, yeah. Back to the point of what the time that I realised. Yeah, so my mum had to bail me out, and I was just like, look, it's not. I was reading books at the time as well, so it kind of led up to that point of, like, I knew how to kind of act in those certain situations. It was just like, just keep calm. Like, this is just now. This is just painful now, and it's not going to be painful in the future. I just have to change this now. And that was where I really made that move and was like, I can't do this. I was just like, this is the moment for me where my life is going to change. So I read The Secret and all these other books and Jordan Peterson. So I was also going through therapy as well, hypnotherapy, and she helped me massively. I think she helped with some bits in the back of my brain, my subconscious, to help me stop. But
What do you think was keeping you doing it? And when you were in the midst of drinking and sniffing,
yeah,
what did being sober mean?
Unhappiness with my life, the way it was,
And that you were covering it up, escaping it or something?
escaping everything. Like it was just, like the only thing that I wanted to do when it come to like Thursday, Friday was get back on it again. Like there was nothing else that I wanted to do. Like that was the only thing I was thinking about. I didn't want. When it got to like Sunday, Monday, it was like I'm never doing this ever again. Tuesday, Wednesday, it started to get a little bit better. My anxiety was still high, and then Thursday, Friday, I was like, boom, straight. Like
It's interesting that you actually capped it those days, even though the extent that it was that you said, I'm not even going to bother in the week.
Yeah, it was the fact that if I didn't have like 3 days to get on it, I wouldn't bother. Like three straight days of no sleep. So it was just like
fucking hell. But a lot of people, they don't. It still bleeds over into those days where they have commitments. The fact, well, obviously your job involved driving, so the fact that you didn't, drink and drive or get caught doing that or something like that is kind of good in itself, because I think a lot of people, once they're at that point, they just say fuck it.
Yeah.
And it bleeds over into every aspect of their life.
I mean, I worked so hard for that job, so I was like, I can't fuck this up. Like, I knew that would be it for me. Do you know what I mean? That would be, if I lost that job, that'd be it.
But you know that so you'd work Monday to Friday normally, and then you know that from Friday night, the minute you're back, it's your time until Sunday night.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, Monday to Friday, you would like Monday to Thursday, you wouldn't even really want to do it anyway, because like a session like that fucks your head up, like just a pure anxiety.
Do you think you'd even recovered by the time you got back on it? Because
about.
when you have a bender like that, it takes 2 or 3 days to even get back into the swing of things.
Plus, like not sleeping. Like I'd sleep all day Sunday, and then try to get to sleep on the Sunday night. Probably didn't get to sleep till around like 2 a.m, and then I'd have to wake up for work at like 6 o'clock. So then I'd have like barely any sleep. So I'd wake up absolutely fucked on the Monday, and then I'd just be like trying to get that sleep back for the rest of the week. So
you had bad anxiety. You were acting pretty recklessly sometimes. Was there any other occasions that, other than getting into $2,000 debt and getting, that story of you in the burger van? I think you should go into that a little bit more about it. Just because that is the most ridiculous story I've ever heard. You got tackled and this and that happened, and explain how far away out of the way this was and everything like that.
Basically, it was December, so it's the German market, and the boys were like, oh, let's go out to the German market. And I was like, oh, fucking got on it. So we've gone to the German market, and I can remember drinking in the German market, and then we've gone off somewhere else. We've gone off to, and this point as well, I didn't, it was one of them times where I didn't have any going out clothes. I was in my trackies at my mate Gibbs, and he was like, oh yeah, I've got some trainers and some, it was like some chinos or something. Like I don't even wear chinos, but his trainers are like size 8 and I'm a size 10, so my toes were like crimbled up and that. Like had like these trousers. He's obviously a lot shorter than me, so these too short for him. Like the things you do to go out, like fucking hell. Literally, my toes were like that, like, and so I've gone out, and we were having a fucking decent night, to be fair, I think. And then we've gone to some club, and after I remember having a couple drinks in there, and then my dad was at a football club that's like quite far away. It's like it's not close in it, but it's quite far. But I won't mention the name. But I've gone to this. I've rang my dad, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm here. You're gonna come?" It's like this was around like 11 o'clock, and I was like, "Yeah, go on then." But I didn't end up leaving the club until 3 o'clock in the morning. I can't remember. Like I can remember talking to my dad, and then I can't really remember anything after. And
You never left.
what?
You mean the football club or
No,
the nightclub?
The nightclub. I can't remember leaving the nightclub.
Okay.
And basically after that, I've just woken up in a burger van, and then I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, so I've been sick in the burger van. Like, I've helped myself to like a bottle of drink or Fanta or whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm looking at my hands. There's like glass everywhere, and I've like, I'm like, fuck this. I need to get home. So I scrambled out, like cut my hands on all the glass getting out, and then I've looked in my pockets, and I can't find anything in my pockets. I'm like, oh fuck, like, how the fuck am I gonna get home? Got no dough, like no wallet, no phone, no keys, and I've jumped back in, and my phone's there, my keys are there, but my wallet's gone. I'm like thinking, fuck, where's my wallet? I'm looking around for my wallet and shit, and just couldn't find it. I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna leave. I just need to leave. I had no charge on my phone either. Um, and then I've scrambled out, and I'm literally just about to. I'm just like walking out. Mate, he's like, "Oi!" I'm looking down at my phone, like I'm just walking away, and that mate just runs over, like rugby tackle me to the floor, puts me in a headlock. I'm literally there, like, I don't know what's going on, please. Fucking, I'm just like just pranging. You know what I mean? I fucking
Didn't have a clue.
Didn't have a clue what was going on. Also with a fat hangover as well, and yeah, mate, he's just like fucking. I'm just on the floor. He's like, "You're not going anywhere. The police have been called." And I was like, "Mate, I've literally have not got a clue what I'm doing here and that." And I was shivering and that. And then he was like, "All right, I can see that you're an all right lad. Like, do you want to come inside?" And then they put like a little jumper over me and that. And they were like, "What the fuck were you doing?" I was like, "Mate, I literally have no idea what I'm doing here." And he was like, "Oh, do you want a Coke and that?" And he brought me out a drink. And they were just like laughing or whatever. Like, what the fuck? This is the most random thing ever. The police turned up. They were like, yeah, fucking, we've looked at the CCTV. You basically smashed your way into the football club. You've ran in. You've got some beers out of the fridge. Ran out. Put them in your pocket. Ran out. One of them smashed on the floor while you're running out. And then you've gone out for like an hour. The fire engines came because it set off the alarm. And then and the police have turned up, but you weren't there. And then you've obviously come back after the police have left and slept in the burger van. It's like, what the fuck? How the fuck? That's the most fucking weird shit ever. But where did I go in that time? And then yeah, I've just fucking got in there and slept for the rest of the night. So got to smash the thing on the burger van, slept in there.
Just moving absolutely reckless.
Yeah,
so then what happened? Like, you just got a fine?
I got a fine. It was like £450 fine or something.
How close was this incident to the end? Was this when you were in the depth of it?
No, this was 2017, 18, something like that. And then, yeah, 2019, I quit alcohol for 3 months, from January to March, or April or whatever. 3 months.
So, all right.
So straight after that, so it was 2018, and then from 2019, I went sober from alcohol, not from the other stuff, till the end of March.
Oh, yeah. You didn't want to tell your mum?
No, my mum.
I told my mum, agreed that you'd be sober, but you still carried on sniffing or something.
It was I agreed. I pinky promised my mum that I would stop drinking alcohol.
Didn't mention the other shit.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't even really like doing the other stuff by itself, but I don't know why. I just banging it every day, because it was only like small amounts in that, but I would just it was like a routine for me. I'd get in from work and just have a couple, play some games. Weird as fuck.
So, all right. So just to bring this into all these other points that we've got, we understand what benefits stopping has brought to our lives, but what negative impacts do you think this actually had on your day-to-day life, your well-being, your mental health, your physical health?
Every day I realized that I wasn't living to my true potential, and like that made it worse as well, because I was like, I'm just, there's some place that I want to be, but I don't know where it is. I don't know how to get there, and I would just like be like, fuck it, well, I'm just gonna carry on doing what I'm doing, and it would just make it worse and worse and worse. So the work, it was the fact that I would always be broke. So every month, every week, my money would always go on that, like never anything else.
You didn't do anything else as well. That was your free time was taken up by
all my
getting
free
on
time was taken up by that. Obviously, I was bad at
the gambling as well.
Gambling as well, but the gambling's kind of got better. But then sometimes I would. So sometimes I would be like, I wouldn't have any money in my account, so I'd like ring my whoever. Oh, sorry. And also people wouldn't think that I was on it, because it was like, I don't know, 2:00 in the afternoon. So like from on a Saturday, because I've been all the way through it from Friday. So I'd ring them up like, or message them like, any chance I've got a bill to pay for that needs to come out. Any chance I can lend like 50 quid or something? Like,
it's always those numbers. When someone's a gambling addict, the numbers they ask you for are so obscure. Like, can you send me £25, please?
Yeah.
Can you just bust me 15 quid?
Yeah.
Or it's like £60. It's all these numbers that are just. Yeah. I remember getting on. Yeah, bruv. Can you send me £140, please? I'll give it back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like the numbers when you get asked for those kind of numbers, there's nothing else that it's ever going to be except gambling.
Yeah.
And I've had it with a few mates, my brother, and you got just, I think with gambling you have to just ban yourself from every site.
But I still did that.
Yeah, but every person whose card you play it on as well, you got to ban them as well.
Yeah.
Until you don't know anyone who isn't banned.
The problem is my uncle, he's a bad gambling addict as well, but he doesn't give a fuck. So like I would just use his accounts.
Yeah.
I just knew all of his passwords.
It's dangerous.
Like, but the thing is, I know every one of his passwords, because this is this is the thing with gambling addicts, yeah? Like, you will be there. Like, I remember I was there, like, trying to figure out his passwords for time, like, and but then once I knew it, it was always there. Like, like, it's a terrible, terrible story, but my mate, I'd done hit one of his accounts like fucking 500 quid or whatever it was. It was over 2 times, because I remembered his password, but I was like, as soon I saw him type it in, and like we were just sat together, so I was like, just forget that, please. But like when you're actually there and you're steaming, and it's like you're on a 2 days session,
you run out of money, and you're like, I'm logging into his account,
logging in,
and
yeah.
But this was an interesting thing that you, in your mind, had a good intention.
It was like all I wanted. Like the thing is,
you wanted to make him some money.
The thing about like doing gear and fucking and drinking, is you want to be concentrating on something. I can't be doing anything else. Like I need to be concentrating on something that's really got my attention. And that gambling, it's just, you're so locked in. You need to be locked into something. And the thing is with like I just wanted to be locked into something. So it wasn't about the winning the money. The winning the money was a buzz as well. But like, it was about winning the money as well. But it didn't matter who it was for. So like I would go onto his, and I'd be like, in my brain, it'd be like, I'm doing this for someone else. So the universe is going to give him money, because it's so fucked the way you think about it in your head. But like it was with the intention of making him money, because I thought if I'm using his account, then it's going to make him money. So I was just going to be like, because I knew he'd be fucking furious, but I'd be like, oh yeah, by the way, in 3 days time, you're going to have like a couple of grand coming into your account. But
that was an interesting thing that I started to realize about people's behavior when it's a lot of these addictive type people who are gambling addicts, people that do kind of naughty things to get their money, that they don't have a bad intention in doing it. You know, it might be money to feed their kids or to help their friend or something like that. They've got this thing in their mind that even though they're losing thousands of pounds, and it's a really negative thing, like going to the casino, sniffing 200 quid worth of gear, coming out, smoking a cigarette in fucking 3 togs, dashing it, going back in, spinning on your own fucking 3 tables, you're just losing grands. But in your mind, it's like, I'm doing this to make money to look after my family.
Yeah.
It's like that. Your head is fucked.
Yeah.
Because you're losing it, and you're like, I can't leave because I need to make that little bit back. I've never like gambled more than 80 quid. Once I lost 80 quid, I just looked at it. I was like, there's no way I'm putting another pound in this.
I remember once.
But I don't understand the games as well. Like they I've never applied myself to understand it. So they just there's things moving and it just means nothing in my head.
Once you understand it, that's when it's game over, bro. Because the thing's just so fun, especially slots. That's the one, bro, for me. Like slots. First of all, it was roulette, blackjack. I made quite a bit of dough off blackjack. Then I went on to like online, just gambling online and shit. And that's where you properly do dough. Like gambling in the casino, you're kind of like, oh, I've got to get home and shit. And but when you're at home, it's just like, there's nothing stopping you, mate. There's no one there stopping you. You're all by yourself. Like at least
you used to load it up on the screen, didn't you, on your TV?
Yeah, you used to load it up on the TV.
What did you play it through? Like,
well, at my uncle's, we used to just play it through our phone on the thing, or we connect the laptop up.
Yeah, that was
sync
it.
it
I've seen
up.
you do that.
Yeah.
On the big screen, you're both involved.
Yeah, we're both involved. It's a community team.
Yeah, it's the maddest type of behavior. It's like, you know, it doesn't make sense, but people keep chasing it. I've seen my brother do it, coming in and out of the bookies, and like when you're with someone who's gambling, unless they tell you what they're doing, it's quite hard to tell whether they're up or down sometimes, unless they're really blatant about it. I remember seeing my brother, and like we'd walk out the bookies, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I just won £1,500." I'd be like, "What? When?" Like, we were in there for fucking 5-10 minutes. I didn't see you do anything. And the sad thing that you see with gamblers, and I think poker, and there are some games which are a game of skill, if you can call it that, or there's a method. Perhaps there are methods as well to these other games that are more stacked in the favor of the house, like roulette, for example. That my brother had his numbers.
Yeah, I had
he's got 3, 7, 11, 17, 21, 27, 31, 33, and 0. So it's like, if you're chucking money on all them numbers, mate, and then I've looked at the machine one time, because I was like, I never know what he's got. I never know what he's doing. And I just decided to watch it play for like 5 minutes. Not that he was trying to hide it or anything. I was like, mate, you've just lost like £1,200. Like, he got up to like probably 1,800 quid off of a tenner in minutes. There was a period where he was just doing those multiplications and then just losing them again. I'm such a play it safe person that if I get any benefit, I'm like, boom, I'm gone. Like literally, as soon as there's like some benefit, not in the sense of, if me and you work together and we do some good thing in the beginning, I'm not going to take it and leave if I know it's a long-term thing. But for example, a casino, if I get any win, I'm taking that and going. There's nothing in my head that would make me put it back in and play it again.
See, this is the thing about, like, people say like, how could you be addicted to gambling because it's not a drug or anything? But the thing that you need to realize is, just like with your phones, these things are made to create endorphins in your brain. So the thing that you're actually addicted to is the endorphins being released in your brain. So you're not actually thinking about the money. It's like, oh, the money's great and everything, but you don't.
People
think
can
about,
watch those. I see people, they watch it on their phones.
Yeah,
like,
people,
you can watch it and get the same thing out of it sometimes.
Yeah, you can get the same kind of thing. I would do that as well. Sometimes I'd just sit there and watch like people on Twitch gamble.
Yeah.
And I actually, I was watching it today. Steve will do it, and I was like, oh, I need to not watch this because it kind of brings back memories. But, yeah, like that's the thing with it. It releases those endorphins, so that's the thing that you're addicted to. So
Yeah.
not so much that's what keeps you there.
Yeah.
Because even though you could have like fucking 10 grand, you could have made 10 grand from 10 quid, but you're addicted to the endorphins of actually doing it, and like staying at doing it.
So this is the thing of addiction. And in my eyes, addiction is where you'll make excuses to do it, or you'd rather do it over something else, or if there's something else to do, you will try and wonder like, okay, but you said it, if I'm going on holiday, how am I going to get gear? And it's like, that is such a weird thing, because
I used to not like going on holiday.
Yeah, because it introduces some element of uncertainty. And I think that's another thing to do with these addictive type behaviors, is that you're getting the fix is certain. Like if you know you can get it, that you're comfortable in that area of certainty. And a change in the situation introduces uncertainty, which makes it really uncomfortable. Because I can't think of a good example other than when I was kind of at school, and I used to always smoke weed after school from when I was like 14. And anytime we had to go anywhere with adults, do anything like, oh, we're going to go out for a meal tonight, or anything that was going on, I used to plan it around being able to smoke weed. And that was the first time I kind of realized that was a problematic thing. And yeah, I think seeing some of the things I've seen people do to either get money to buy drugs, or the excuses that they've made, or the fucking thing they've been juggling to try and continue the behavior of, there are situations where I've seen people let their whole setup and situation go to complete shit just so they can continue getting on it for days at a time, like relationships. Mainly relationships, like with their missus, for example. I haven't really seen it from, and the other side of someone with a boyfriend who does that. But yeah, it's just insane the lengths people will go to just continue doing their addiction.
Well,
when people start stealing and shit like that.
All of my missuses have all dealt with me, so one wasn't into it at all, one was a little bit into it, and one was very into it with me. So yeah. But what did you just say there? You said something about, I can't remember what it was, but something sprung to mind.
I'm not sure. Once these words come out my mouth, they're done.
But yeah,
the extents that people go to continue.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I'll say about that thing with my mate with the money situation of me fucking up that 500 quid or whatever. I'd actually got a phone on contract. It was a brand new phone. Yeah, I probably had it like a couple of months. It was a 7 Plus, 7 Max or whatever. And I went and shot at it the next day, and I went without a phone and just
so you can pay that
just paid them off the money.
See, this is the next thing of so there's kind of two ways of people that get on it. There's a healthy version and there's an unhealthy version, and I think that the healthy version can quickly slip into the unhealthy version. So, if you go out once in a blue moon and it doesn't really affect you. It doesn't really affect your finances or your mental health or your relationships. You're not getting involved in drama. Then that's a very different situation to when it does affect all of those things. When it's negatively impacted, you know, you're not turning up to work because you're going on benders. You haven't got any money because you spent it all on shit. You're getting yourself into debt because you've spent all your money and you don't have a job now. It's ruined your relationship. When it's at that stage, and I see so many people that they do it on a regular basis, and you can see from the outside that their whole setup is just on the ropes. They're just on the ropes in every aspect you can imagine them. Financially, mentally, relationship-wise, everything. And it's just insane that something which is actually, from my experience, it was quite easy to stop. But I know that a lot of people have massive like lapses over time, and they go back to it and come off of it. And it's different depending on what your thing is. You know, there's addictive type traits in people that aren't just, you know, that could not include abusing drugs. There's a number of other things. But I think that the impact that doing loads of drugs and drinking, and it's mainly the consistency of doing it. If you're really consistent in doing it, then the negative impacts that it has are just fucking ridiculous. The thing for me which really made me like want to stop was when I used to go out and I used to get on it. My thing was ket. I'd be casual to fuck, and every time I got it, minimum 60-70 pounds worth, get 3.5 grams, and just fucking go to space. And there was a point where I remember getting stuck where I was stood a couple of times, and there was a point where I was stood next to this fucking washing machine for about 2 hours. And I remember thinking there, as soon as I can move, I'm going home. As soon as I can physically get out of this position, I'm going. And when that happened like 3 or 4 times, and the room around me was changing, and you're tripping, like the whole room changes, and then you start hearing about things. Oh mate, last night you were fucked. Like, so what happened? I don't even remember seeing you. When I was doing that, mixed with the short-term memory loss that I had, every day, I think you remember this, but there was a period where for months and months and months, I was spending like 2 or 3 hours a day looking for shit that I'd lost. I'd lost this SD card, or lost this charger, or lost this set of keys, because I'd leave them in places. And like, not 2 or 3 hours a day, but for a considerable amount of time every day. And I remember one time looking that little microphone that we used to use.
I remember you looking
fucking hell,
fuming about it.
Fuming. And then I would literally say to myself, I cannot do anything else until I found this. So then that's why it ended up taking so long, because I would not like continue on to my next thing. I would be like, right, I'm not doing anything until I find this. And when I was doing ket, the main problem I had was just getting angry and losing shit, and getting angry about losing shit. Right? And yeah, that element of that thing of people coming up to me and saying, mate, you were fucked last night. What the fuck were you doing? You were being a weirdo. And then I'd be like, I didn't even remember seeing you. What was I doing? And they were like, you just kept pushing me over. And then every time I stood up, you just pushed me over again. And I was like, man, I don't even remember seeing you. And when I started hearing about things like that, I just thought, at some point you need to have some self-respect or dignity about yourself, that you're not going to allow yourself to do those type of maneuvers. And that was, for me, along with the money aspect and just how it was affecting work, and it's just the breaks in time, the breaks in momentum that you have, instead of really when you're drinking and getting on it, instead of really focusing on a point and moving towards it, you got all these breaks in momentum, and that affects the time you can dedicate to something and the money you can dedicate to something. And just that little bit of loss in momentum just makes things take so much longer. I was kind of talking about on another episode where the things which I've done in the last year, and I've actually worked this out, that the money that I've saved, the things that I've done, I think would have taken 3 to 5 years if I was drinking 3 times a week. Just because of the money and the time that wouldn't have been put into the things that I've put time into in the last year. So the change I've seen has been really quick. It feels like a lot's happened, but in reality, that's kind of how things normally go. Except in the past, I've always had these breaks in momentum because of drinking or doing drugs.
I think going on to like what we were talking about the problems that you come across, and I'm like I'm good at observing people, so I would like just sort of take mental notes of what was going on at the time, and I'd always find myself in situations, and what I realized was everyone who like would go to like afters and sit in the kitchen, they're all just depressed, like, and there's
You don't need to be fucking good at observation to tell someone that.
yeah, but like there's never like anyone who's like properly happy.
No, there's
like,
not.
That everyone is just like got something going on. You sit down next to someone, you have that deep conversation with them, and they've got some serious
shit going on,
and their head's fucked, and like they might look like they're having a good time, and like they'll get up and they'll have a good time and that, but when you actually sit down and have a chat with them, they're fucked, innit? And that was just the common theme with every single person who was there, and it's all from what I could tell, it was all from like childhood trauma and like loss of a loved one, and just like wanting to be somewhere but they're not there. And but the thing of childhood trauma, that's like the biggest one that would always pop up for me. People would feel easier to open up about it because they're just desperate to talk to someone, desperate to figure out what the fuck is going on in their head with those type of things. Because these type of things, it's so hard to talk about when you're sober with anyone. And like the fact that seeing a therapist or whatever is so expensive, it's like, who the fuck do you feel like you can talk to? And that is a place where I think people really were able to open up. I was very much able to open up with certain people, and just being in them situations, it did help me in some way as well, because it helped me actually get things out as well. So that this isn't to say that, like, I think it's important to say that not everything about that life I regret. I don't regret any of it. I'm actually so thankful for it because I found out who I am. And if I didn't go through that, then I probably wouldn't be where I am now, and I wouldn't have worked out the things that I needed to work out. And the actual times, I don't really give a shit about the times of going out. What I remember is the times of staying in with like different people, like me and my uncle just staying in and having a drink and just gambling and all that stuff. I would never change that for the world. Like that was some of the funnest times with my uncle, spending time with my uncle. So like, and certain times spending with my mates, like just me and a few of my mates, we just sit there and play games and shit, like, and we just chat. And that was like, it was great. And sometimes I do miss those times, but it's just not where my life is now.
I would definitely say that I don't regret those times of partying, but I wish I knew the impact that they had. And I think this is the thing that I'll always just keep referring to, is the impact that had. Because like, I had fun. Like, I had fun doing ket and fucking drinking 10 bottles of Ecafools and doing this and that and staying awake for days on end. And Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Jumping around people's kitchens. But I never really went clubbing. I never really even started drinking until COVID lockdown.
Mm.
When that first lockdown happened, it was just like, okay, you want to all fucking stay in your houses. I'm gonna be, and well, I mean, there was hundreds of us. I met hundreds of people over lockdown.
You didn't even put nothing up your nose until like 2019, something like that, did you?
Pretty much. Yeah, something like that.
See, I think I was like 2015, maybe a bit.
I don't know.
2015.
I don't know. I never really liked gear, but I always loved Cat.
Mm.
Cat was just the one for me. It's just the one. But the thing with doing Cat and drinking is it just exacerbates the effects of both.
Mm.
Like, you got to really be careful what you're drinking when you're doing Cat, because you just end up folded. So like, yeah, we had funny times, yeah. But the one thing that I realized about all the people I used to drink with, 95% of them, now that I don't drink, I don't speak to them. I don't have anything in common with them. I almost don't like want anything to do with them.
Mm.
And yeah, I don't ever see them. Like, the only thing that I had in common with so many of these people that I met was just, you drink, I drink, that's it. That was the only criteria for us to be friends.
Mm.
So there was a period at the beginning of 2021 where our little group was kind of saying, we're going to do, I think we said 3 months sober, because it was literally 4 times a week. And I felt like I had nothing else to do unless we were drinking. And that question of, it was almost like insinuating drinking by saying what we saying later. Like, there was no other thing than drinking. It was, that question was, do you want to get drunk? And I don't know why we kind of like Nancied around that point. I'm not sure why, but yeah, it just became a bit too silly. So we tried. I think we may have tried to do sober January of 2021, and the first 2 weeks was how long we lasted. And that whole 2 weeks, I was just thinking, I've just lost all my friends. I don't know anyone else around here. All of my friends that I've seen in the last year and a half all just do this. So I felt like I'd lost all my mates if I stopped drinking. And even though I said for months I wanted to stop from January 2021, I think I ended up stopping in June, something like that. So yeah, it took 6 months of actually trying to stop to actually do it.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, I'd never really had, I wouldn't have really called it a problem, but it became problematic.
It could have become a lot worse than what it was.
Yeah. I feel like the cat could have just, people slip into that hole and then they're fucked.
Mm.
Because cat has this thing around it of, people think because it's cheaper than gear, it's not as bad as gear, that it's somehow all right to do it more regularly than doing gear. If you do it more regularly than the way some people do gear, like once a week, twice a week on the weekend, if you fucking banging cat every day, mate, you're just like, your brain is just turns into like an ice lolly. It's just a frozen block. It's just, there's nothing there. You're just this empty shell. And that was the way that I started to feel. I could feel really unhealthy. The way that I was just, whenever I was hungover, I would just eat the shittest food, fry-ups, proper shit food, no exercise. And I was having no real, like, stimulating. Nothing was, like, stimulating me. There was no conversations. It was just, and everyone else was fucking depressed. Everyone was depressed. Like we were saying, like, all these people closest to me were pretty much like going nowhere, no ambitions, no thing that they're actually achieving. No one's got like a project going on or progress in their career or doing something interesting or doing art or doing a business. None of the people I was around when I'm drinking and getting on it were doing any of that shit. And I wanted to do some of that shit. So I was just like, I need to be around people who are interested in doing that. And that's the big thing of stopping drinking is feeling okay on a Friday night when all of your friends are going out and you know that everyone's on it and you're not there. Getting rid of that fear of missing out is so important, because that's what makes you ring someone at 10. You're saying, oh yeah, fuck it, I will come out. But now, like, I look at everyone going out and I just think, fuck that, mate. It's changed in my mind about what it means. In my mind, getting on it now is some form of escapism, and I'd rather not ever have to escape any of my problems and being able to deal with them head on, which I didn't feel like I could do when I was in the midst of getting on it. And the other aspect to that is that I don't see it as a celebration or positive thing.
Yeah.
I like,
it's like the celebration part is just gone. Like, everyone would be like, oh, let's go out and celebrate. Or that's the thing with drinking, is like, you do it when you celebrate and you do it when you're sad. So and it's just a crazy thing that society sort of like painted this picture that you just do it at any given moment of the time. You do it when you get in from work, and like,
yeah,
this,
oh, it's a birthday party, let's go out for a drink. Oh, sun's out, let's go out for a drink.
The thing is,
like,
the thing is with me, I was quite self-aware of the whole aspect of that, and I didn't want to bring anyone else down with me. So my only problem was myself, and no one could be like, "Oh, John, come out and drink." Like, if I didn't want to drink, I wouldn't, and if I did, I did. Like, on weekdays, people would be like, "Oh, let's have a drink," and I'd be like, "No." I'd have the self-control to be like, "No," because I've got fucking work, and like, there's no point if I can't get on it for 3 days. But that's my only problem was me. So I didn't have that, like, someone else saying, "Oh, do this, do that," because I got on it by myself. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't have any FOMO. The only FOMO that I had was me sat in my room. It's like, I could go and get something right now if I wanted to. That was like the only thing for me. So I never really had the FOMO part. I did have, when I was younger, around when I was proper partying, probably 2008, 2016, 17, 18. That was when I did have FOMO, like, oh, everyone else was out. But after that, when I started staying in by myself, didn't really have that problem. And there was another thing that I wanted to say, that I think we should sort of go on to the point where it all started to change again. And, well, let's let's bring that back, actually, because I think another big point of it, why I was so depressed, was when my nan passed away. But it was the fact of, after that, it was the way I acted when my nan was passing away, which really got to me after. And like, I didn't like, it was the fact that it was over the space of 3 years that we found out that she was dying, and she went through a long process of cancer, stage 4 cancer. And the fact that I didn't like grasp the last moments with her of the last 3 years. Like, I had 3 years to like really make her life better, or like really taking that time, and I didn't. And I even lived with her, and all she got to see was like her grandson depressed, and like, that really got to me, of like, her last 3 years, she didn't see any progress with me. And no matter how hard she tried, she still tried her best every day to, like, she'd bring me in food and drink and coffee, and a cup of tea in the morning, and a smoothie. And she'd be like, "Oh, do you want it?" And then I'd get letters to the door, like, saying that I owed money on certain things. She'd find the letters and she'd pay off the debts and shit. And she'd be like, "John, by the way, I saw one of your bills and I paid it off." I'm like, "Oh my god, like, you didn't have to do that, but thank you. Like, I'm really appreciative." Like, she would do things like that to, like, try and make me feel better, and like, try get my life better. And another time, she paid for my insurance. She was like, "Oh, I'll give you the money for your insurance so you can um so you can yeah, so you can pay for your insurance and you can start driving again. Because I think I had a job at that time. Yeah, I did have a job at that time, and I spunked like half of it. It was like £2,000, and it was like I spunked like I think it was like £800 just sat in gambling on my phone. So it's like those moments of like those like seeing her just. I put myself back in my shoes after that and just hating myself. So and it's like it's not because and I knew it wasn't me, but it was me at the same time, and it fucking just pained me. Like I've I've made peace with it now, but the pain that caused me at that time was just unbelievable, and that's why I just didn't want to be around anyone, because I knew that was another thing. I just didn't want to be around anyone because I didn't want to make anyone's life worse. I thought that me being around others just made their lives worse. So it was like if I just stay away from everyone and lock myself away and don't see anyone, then everyone's life will be better or better off. Um so yeah, is that so that moment with my nan, like she was the things that woman showed me were just unbelievable, and that I bring that now with me with everyone that I meet now, and I have that realization that some people can act like they don't mean to be the certain way, but they act it because of something that's wrong with their brain, and
Yeah.
I realize that now, and it's like, okay, so I can have more empathy for others, and I can just do what my nan done for me in those situations, and
Be kind.
be kind, and there's nothing else that you can do other than just be kind, because they're going through whatever they're going through. So that I'm unbelievable. I wouldn't be here now if it wasn't for her showing me that, even in the last moments of her life as well. And um, so yeah, it was just like that moment where I got through. Um, she died 2018, and then 2019. I did that for January to March because I promised my mum, and then I went back on just straight heavy drinking again, because it was like I wasn't thinking about. All I was thinking about was like, oh, the end of March, I get to drink again. That's all I was focusing on. And there's like, when I finally got there, I was like, yes, I can fucking drink again. So there was no like, oh, your life's got better. Like now it's time to keep it up. It was like, I can't wait. I've done that now, and then I can just go straight back to drink. Because I was still very much involved. I was still fucking doing bits here and there to make dough and that. So, and I was actually making dough, which I'd never seen before. I was just doing it to feed my habit. So I actually had some dough saved up as well, and I was like, fucking hell. So I just fucking went ham for the first fucking few months, and then things really started to get worse. Towards the end of the year, and then obviously COVID happened. Got in a relationship, we were just as bad with each other, and we just sit in. But no, sorry, I'll put that again. We weren't just as bad as each other. I was way worse than her, and I probably made her worse.
Influenced her to be worse. Yeah.
I didn't influence her. She just carried along with me. But I would never be like, you need to get on it with me. Do you know what I mean? Like I would never. She would quite happily sit there for, not quite happily, but she would sit there and be like, "Oh, John, like, are you going to stop getting on it now?" And I'd be like, "No." Like,
shut up.
yeah. I'd be like, "Look, just stay there, do your thing in it. I'm just staying here on my PC. I don't want to talk to no one. Just leave me alone." Like, I love the fact that you're there. It's nice having company, but I just don't. I just want to stay here and do my thing in it. So, and it wasn't like I made her do anything or whatever. I was always like, I always wanted her to like not do what I done. But obviously, being around someone like me, you're influenced by that. And then that relationship sort of drizzled out because I wanted to stop, and I was going through that process of seeing Karen. which was in episode 4, 5,
Yeah.
5. So you can go back and watch that one if you want. But yeah, I did that whole process. That really helped me. But I was already sort of reading books, like searching up online what people with addiction go through, how it affects their brain, and then I started to understand. Oh, okay, this is like some psychological thing that's wrong with my brain. Not because I couldn't understand what the problem was. There was like I knew that there was a problem, but I didn't know what it was. It kind of felt like a mixture of a whole load of different things. And with Karen, I was able to make peace with that and make peace with the fact that people are going to leave me, people are going to die around me. Never, nothing's ever going to be perfect. You can't. There's no perfect way of doing things. You can't regret anything. Everything happens for a reason. And that was where I really became really spiritual. Of like, kind of made me think like everything is. There is a path. There is one path, and you can't really stray away from it. You can kind of maybe twiddle around the path, but there is one path that you're actually on. And you kind of feel like you do have a choice, but then again, there kind of feels that there isn't a choice as well.
What about that led you to be spiritual?
Um,
What about that experience made you think of this one path?
because I had experiences in meditation with it's fucked because I can't really it's hard to explain because it sounds just so hocus pocus when it comes out your mouth.
Yeah.
But I kind of felt like I got closer to my nan after she died. I understood everything that she did. I understood all the things that she'd tell me, it wouldn't click. And then all the things started to click afterwards. And I remember that she'd always have the book, The Secret, next to her bed. Always.
So you read it?
But I read it after. I didn't realize that was the book. And I remember hearing it on a podcast. Someone was like, "Oh, I read The Secret and my whole life changed." And I was like, "What's The Secret? I need to fucking have a little listen to that." And then I saw the cover and I was like, "Oh my god, that was sat next to my nan's bed." And I spoke to my mum about it. She was like, "Yeah, that was like Nan's favorite book. She loved that book. She like lived by that book." I was like, "Oh, okay. Like, let me read that." And I read it, and everything, her whole life and her whole persona and everything just came to light. I was like, I get it. And I did meditation and I felt my nan's presence and my grandma's presence. My grandma left me when I was, or died back in 2010. But so I've had very like motherly figures, which were massive impacts on my life. And I had realized different things about them both, and I've managed to gain a new relationship with them, which was an adult relationship, because there's a strange thing when you're young, your parents and all adults around you, they show you a certain part of their
character,
their persona or whatever, and then when you get older, it's like there's that moment where you turn into an adult and you go and see your granddad and he just talks to you like a man. And I didn't have that, but I had that in a spiritual way, and I couldn't explain it. And it was one of the most beautiful things that I've ever come across in my life, because it just changed me, and it changed my whole aspect of, I found God, and but not the God that, the thing is with God is it fucked my head up, because I was made to believe that it's this one thing, like this man in the sky.
Something.
This man I thought that God was this man in the sky, and realized I actually realized that God's just energy. It's everything. It's like connects us. We're all connected. We're all one. Everything is one. And I realized that this is all just, I'm just a vessel, and I'm just having this one experience, and it's like I have to just be grateful for every moment, and I just have to grasp every moment and be at one with the moment and love. And that's the only thing that matters, is love. Like, just sharing love and trying to make the world a better place than when you left it. And that's what I want. I just want to be a good man, a good man for me, not for anyone else. I don't care what anyone else thinks of as a good man. As long as I know deep down in my soul that I've been the best man that I can possibly be, that's it for me. I don't give a fuck. Like someone could say, "Oh, you've done this, you've done that." I don't care. I don't give a fuck because I'm living to how I want to be, and my relationship with God is completely different to your relationship with God. I, I. That's another thing I realized, that there's no such thing as good and bad. Like, you choose what your good and bad is. Like, everyone has. Like, someone could say, I don't know, fucking drinking Coca-Cola. Oh, you're a terrible person for drinking Coca-Cola. It's like, I don't know why I chose
It's a very low
that. I know.
example of a bad.
I know it's a very bad
There's
example.
like genocide and rape.
Yeah. Like, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, but I didn't really want to go into that. But yeah, someone could say, yeah, rape is fine. Yeah, we could all rape. Yeah, if everyone thought that raping was fine, they would be fine. Do you know what I mean?
It's like a common agreement that we've decided what's good and bad.
Exactly. So I realized that, and I was like,
I think
the only thing that actually matters is what I believe is good and bad. And if I live my life doing the things that are good,
it works on an individual level. But if everyone thought that and everyone had a different understanding of what good and bad was, and we didn't come to any agreement about it, the world might look different. Because if everyone, like, it works for you, I understand it on that level, and I'm not really trying to get into that side of it. But
I 100% agree with you that like, we need to have some sort of common ground of what is good and bad. But at the end of the day, like, everyone's going to do whatever.
I think the thing is do no harm to someone else. Don't do something evil to someone else, and you live your life not causing harm to any other life. That is basically a good person. That's like,
I think it's pretty impossible. Like,
you don't intentionally
do it.
Yeah, you don't intentionally cause harm to any other life. You know, and to
it's such a sticky subject, because it's like, how the fuck I don't think that you can even go through life by doing that. It's like,
why
and
not?
who chooses how much good and how much bad you've actually done in life? Because someone,
it's not. It's about the intention. There's this.
Yeah, but someone could have intent from the beginning part of their life and then completely change it after. And then it's like, are you labeled as such a terrible person for once doing that? Or you could do like be the most
the worst,
perfect person ever all the way through to the end, and then you do something bad at the end, and it completely fucks up your reputation, and it fucks your whole life, and you're always labeled as that bad person because you've done that one thing right at the end. So where do we draw the line between that person was good and that person was bad? Like,
it's very subjective. There is no one thing. I mean, there's a number of different ways to weigh it up as well. Like, to say how, if someone was bad all of their life and then on their deathbed did one good well-intentioned good act, does that resolve all of the other problems that were created by that person? Probably not in a general way. But the point I'm basically making is that in deciding to be a good person, the most probably generally accepted way that can be understood is that you don't cause harm to other life.
This is the thing that I realized, is like, this is just an experience. You can either choose to do that, or you can either choose not to do it. But also, there are people who are psychopaths. There are people who, like, are just doing bad things, and like, they don't even care. They don't have like a reason in between what's good and bad. So like, they do these things.
What do you mean this is just an experience? Does that make it something less than something else?
No, because
I think it wasn't an experience.
No, because I think that I believe that everyone goes back to source. I don't think there's heaven and hell. I just think that there is a divine source which is just bliss, which everyone goes. I don't think that there is like you're punished for the things that you do. I just think that this is an experience because there is this is just like a different way of living. This is like an experience, and your brain, if you think about all the things that like play into your life and play into the shape of your brain's already been like fucking gone through all this for hundreds of thousands of years. The what would you call it? The evolution of the brain is already got these certain subset of things that it already does or wants to do, and like society gets in the way of those things that it does actually want to do most of the time. So like, are you going to label that person who wants to do those things or acts out on those things because society now makes it look like it's good? And like, this is the thing with good and bad, is that what someone who done something 80 years ago, which was okay 80 years ago, which now we look back at it and think, oh my God, that's disgusting what they did back then. Like, how the fuck could they ever do
like
that?
What?
Well, I'm sure right now people are going to be like, oh my God, they use cars. Like, what the fuck? Like, they ruin the environment with the cars and they didn't care about the future. They're disgusting people. Like,
They used to like pour
they used to
buckets
pillage
of shit.
They used to pillage, fucking rape women, everything. Like, just, but that was just normal. Like, yeah, and they'd celebrate after.
But was it normal?
But they'd,
Do you know that?
well, obviously not, but
I don't know if it ever. I think we got some ideas like that, but I don't know if.
well, what?
Surely there must have been a group of people that were just like, "That's a bit fucked." Like,
Obviously, the people
that man just went over to that village and raped everyone. And
yeah, but
killed
everyone was doing it.
Who's everyone?
But because everyone, countries did it. Countries still do it now.
I know they do it now. Surely everyone wasn't doing that.
Not every single person, but like they'd be like, oh, if it was me or them, do you know what I mean? It's me or you. So in that sense, it's like either they do it to us or we do it to them. So you're protecting your.
I'm not actually sure that history was just some real life version of Game of Thrones. Like, was it? Where does that idea come from?
Because
this is like that.
Because if you just look at what like territory, like any mammal is very territorial about their situation. So all you care about is your family. Like, if you think about it, do you give a fuck that some kid, I don't know, out somewhere has died?
But if it was me or you, that doesn't mean I'm gonna rape you, bruv. Like, why am I gonna just be like, if you don't rape me, if I don't rape you, you're gonna rape me. Like, at what point was there some?
I think
where has that idea come from in your head? Like, I'm sure, like,
but that was probably just an urge
even though
men
we
had back then, and like there was no one telling them like you can't do that, innit?
There must have been.
No,
you
think a man who
I don't think that's right.
Pillage fucking the whole town and that.
No. The thing about these communities, where it was different, and the dynamic that they had, and this harmonious dynamic, and the way that it's different is that in the past, people were kind of not praised for their skills, but people understood the difference between certain traits. So certain people did this job, certain people did this other job. And there are situations where someone like a psychopath can do a job better than someone who isn't psychopathic in their tendencies. So from what I understand of these, I don't know where this happened. You know, this is just a general understanding of small communities and villages and how the work was split up. That there are certain psychological traits that would have favored different types of work. So it's a little bit different to today, where everyone's expected to do the same thing. So certain psychological traits seem highlighted as, the word is like incongruent. It's like, for example, it's like in contrast to what is expected as a norm. But in reality, if you put a different situation in front of them, they would excel better than other people. So it's like the example we used in another episode of everyone's a different shaped key, and the same lock is put in front of them. So I think previous cultures had better understandings of suiting the person to their job or what role they played in the society. I don't know if everyone, because even though we have a more developed language maybe than the past, we have a different type of civilization, we have a different type of organization of how we deal with our lives. The psychological traits that we possess and that kind of guide our behavior have always probably been there. You know, there's mild-tempered people, there's people who are very angry, there's people who are passive, there's people who are aggressive, there's people who are, you know, all of these different things. They would have existed all throughout, because they're just tendencies of behavior. So, I mean, yeah, there would have been barbaric situations going on before there was this most perfect and noble world order which we live in now. But I don't know about everyone fucking...
Not everyone. Like,
it's not everyone.
It's not everyone, but there's like certain subsets of people that probably were like.
I mean, there are now.
Yeah, there are now as well. So,
like, you go to places in fucking Africa where there's,
I mean, the human trafficking
territories
is horrendous, and like especially in less developed countries where life is very cheap, like India and things. Like, kids are getting, and just people in general are just getting like fucking trafficked all over the place.
I mean, if anything, it's probably worse now.
Yeah,
because it's on a more industrial scale. Because there's the logistics and the technology involved of moving people out of countries. That's supposedly one of the first things that happens when countries go to war, is the human trafficking that occurs.
We've gone very on top topic.
Yeah. Human trafficking, fucking sex trade.
From spirituality to fucking human trafficking. I'll just go back to the spirit. Why it was that I went spiritual and
I think you explained why. How has that changed your outlook? How has that changed anything about your life?
I think about life just so differently now. And my problems that I face, I've realised that this is just now, and like I can choose how to act. The way that I choose how to act now is impacts it massively. So like, if I just sit down and wallow and just be like, oh, like it's gonna make the situation a million times worse. If I just be like, take a step back from the situation and be like, everything happens for a reason. This has happened for a reason. This has happened to make me into a better person. This has happened to make me do all the things that I want to do in the future. This has a part to play in my future. Everything gets better from there, because I realize, okay, I just have to just relax. This is all just happening now. This isn't happening in my future. And learn how to and learn how to attack it from a different perspective, instead of with a fresh brain, instead of like acting off impulse and just feeling depressed and sad about the thing that's actually happened. So the way that I interpret and choose to deal with situations, that is how it's massively changed. And I think that once you can do that, you're pretty much fucking plain sailing. Once you understand how to deal with hard situations, it's pretty much It's not plain sailing, but it's fucking a hell of a lot easier.
The thing with stopping and becoming sober, the thing in my mind, which is different, is that I understand now that if I apply myself to something, that I can generate results, and it gives me more self-confidence. Just stopping doing that itself is a good thing, because it's kind of like I've done something and it's changed my life. So that's good. And that's fulfilling in itself. But then everything that's come along with it, through having better concentration and being more committed to things, not having breaks in momentum, and seeing the results that you get from it, motivates me more to now strive for different things, because now I know that foundation of my way of thinking now, and the way I've set things up, that's solid, that it means I can build on top of it instead of still trying to lay the foundation. So I think the main thing is you're not being influenced by all of your decision making when you're sober is not coming through the lens of getting on it, because it's like, oh, we're gonna go camping this weekend, and then you think, oh, is anyone else drinking?
Yeah,
take a few beers with us, and it's like,
make sure I've got the pack. I mean,
maybe for some people, this the other element of this conversation that should have really been addressed at the beginning is that people like to use this example of like Snoop Dogg smoking weed. And they say, yeah, but people like Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa and Bob Marley, they're so successful and they all smoked weed. And it's like, okay, fair play to them. But if you're someone who smokes weed and you spend your last tenner and you tick 20 bags and you fucking like pinch fags off people and do this and that so that you can smoke weed, and you hang about when someone's got a joint, and you do things which are like nitty behavior, and it mentally affects you in a negative way, which I think to a lot of people it does, whether they realize it or not. Not everyone, this is generalization, but when it does, then that's when you stop. Yeah, fair play. There are anomalies of people who they go out and drink sometimes, or people who even drink a lot and they're still very successful by whatever metric you want to use. But for me, the metric is, how do you feel in yourself? How do you feel about your life? Because that was the thing that I tried to explain to a group of people, my friends, that were like, it was my brother and two of his mates, and I was just like, they were like, well, how are you sat in here on a Friday night? Like, don't you want to come out? And I'm like, not at all. Like, it's literally, like, I'm not in.
Couldn't think of anything worse.
Couldn't actually think of anything worse to do right now. It's so shit. Like, I'm actually much more enjoying myself just sat here, like, watching something and learning something.
Yeah.
And the thing that I think when you're in the midst of getting on it is that you don't appreciate the actual feeling that you get, or that feeling that people, I think, are chasing through escaping their life is like the constant feeling when you're not drinking. That thing that you chase by drinking is just there. And I think it's not when you're just sober, it's kind of when you're making progress and you're feeling progress and you're feeling healthy and everything like that. It all compounds, and it just feels good. Like, I feel better now not drinking alcohol and doing care than I did when I was doing that. So I'm going to carry on doing that. And from this point in with hindsight, I can say that I've got a lot more done in the last year than I did in the fucking 3 years prior to that. And the only difference is I have not been getting on it. And then you look at that and you say, what about that made me be able to progress faster? And it's just the time and the money and the mindset and the people that you're hanging around with.
Do you know the other thing? This is another thing that I wanted to get onto. When you stop drinking, that big thing that it could be any sort of thing that you're addicted to. When you stop, you start realizing everything else that you're also addicted to, which is like having an impact in your life. For me, like just fucking caffeine, like other things as well, like just ways that I
Sugar and that.
sugar and the ways that and obviously food's just such a big one that you don't even clock it. It's like you're such a nitty for food. Like I'm such a nitty for food sometimes. Like when I get that like little urge, it's like, oh, I'm going like, and I do that with this exactly the same as with getting on it. On the Friday, I told myself, oh, I'm going to stay on this weekend. Oh, no, no. When it gets there, it's like, nah, fuck it. Like, I've already decided. And that's the same thing of when you're driving past a McDonald's and you're like, oh, McDonald's. Yeah, I'm going in. It's that quick little thing of like, yeah, fuck it. I don't care. Like, even though you know it's a bad thing to do, you do it anyway. And that's because you're addicted to food, to shit food. And those foods, they make you more addicted, and everything about that food, the endorphins they release in your brain when you eat that food. This is exactly the same as when you take a drug and going for your coffee in the morning. It's the same endorphins that gets released in your brain. Having that fag in the morning, same endorphins that gets released in your brain. All these things that life, they make these things in a certain way to behave exactly like those drugs do. And the same with your phone. You're nitty for your phone. It's like they make these things. They've gone through extensive research on how to keep you on this thing and to make it exactly the same as like a gambling machine, and like to release those same endorphins that those drugs do, and you just become aware of everything, and you're like, oh, like I need to get away from these things as well, and you start thinking, how can I make my life better in every single way? Because you realize that stopping that made your life so much better. Imagine how much better you could make it with cutting out all these other things as well. And it's like that compounding of that one, that one, that one, that one, and you're just crossing things out. And it makes it so much easier when you cross that first big one out. And that is the big change where you can say, you can realize, oh my God, like it's not just a drink, it's all these other things as well. But now it's almost like you're clear. It's like
You can
the
attack
world
those other things now.
yeah, the world opens up and you're so much more aware of your body, how you feel, your mental state. Oh, I feel bad today. Wonder what that's about. And you ask yourself certain questions. Have I done anything differently? Have I been eating bad food? And then you're able to like retrace the steps of what you were doing wrong, how you can do differently next time. Oh, well, because all you've got is that one thing. So that drink, and you just know it's that drink that makes you feel like shit every time. So, but you don't realize all the other things that make you feel shit as well. So you can sort of like, oh, if I take that out next time, does that make me? And that's how I felt with caffeine, because I just thought I had anxiety, just like pure like feelings of like just crap, like my muscles would tense up like massively, and I'd feel and I'd get like pains in my heart and shit. And I realized I thought it was just from I thought it was because I was just from the fucking drinking the gear. But then I realized like every time I had a coffee, ooh, I feel a bit. I don't. It's happening every time I have a coffee
You become more in tune with your
with
feeling.
everything. So yeah, that's one thing that I wanted to say about that. It's just you come in tune with everything, and you just realize everything that is going to make you better, and you strive towards those things, like cutting out those things.
I think the main point, I think, to kind of bring it full circle and wrap it up, is depends what you want. It depends what you want out of your life. Yeah, I think my thing at the moment has been to think about what's the most important thing to me, and it's finding some element of joy, peace, freedom, and however that translates in my life. And and for me, drinking and doing drugs and going out every weekend is just not part of that. I can still have friends that I do things with, and I don't want to be involved in all of these escapism behaviors, because you just become less and less in tune with yourself, and it just becomes a fucking downward spiral.
Mm.
And before you know it, you're left with nothing, and you're just around a load of shit people.
Mm.
And it can happen pretty quickly. And I think people get quite lost in that escapism as well. And it's kind of hard to wiggle your way out of it. So I just don't want that in my life. And even people around me, I don't really want close people to me who are still doing that, because it's like, you're probably not self-aware enough to be really doing nice things, doing good things in your life. Like,
Well, you are who you're around. That's another thing. Like when you're around these people every day, you do that stuff
you
with
just
them.
are that person.
And when we were talking about earlier, all these people are depressed who get on it all the time. That probably is going to bring you down. Well, 100% is going to bring you down if you're chilling with these people all the time, because you realize that they're just depressed and they're not unhappy with their lives. That's why they drink. That's why they escape. That's what they do. That's what drink is, and it's an escapism from their life. So you don't want to be around people who are escaping. You want to be around people who are thriving and living.
Taking it head on. This is the thing. Dealing with your life head on is a much more effective strategy than burying your head in the sand. Because I've seen so many people do this. They let their problems compound and build up, and then it's just an insurmountable pile of problems that you're never going to get around to dealing with. And it's just, that's when you're crushed by your problems. And I think this is when people face breakdowns, and I've seen it happen to people who I've been close to. And it's sad, because a lot of the time these problems are so straightforward to deal with. And now when problems pop up, there are things that I find tedious, that are annoying, but I come into big problems all the time. You hear the kind of things that I'm always talking about. It's like, there's a big fucking thing that I need to overcome here. And it's like, I might at first try and ignore it, and then try and avoid it, and then try and deal with it in about 5 different ways. And then you eventually solve the problem. And then it's like, well, okay, now I kind of know what to do in that situation. And I think if you, like, all of my problems are gone now that I don't do that shit. I don't have really any problems that are things I can't solve. Like, there are problems pop up. Yeah, it's life. Like, things happen.
But how much easier are those problems to
But
deal
it's
with?
just like, done.
Just attack it straight
It's
away.
just like, okay, yeah, whatever, fucking throw anything, and just gonna give it a go. And if you can't give it a go, then it crushes you, and you're finished anyway. But it's about how, what's your
You've got that fight in you.
yeah.
You've got that fight. It's like, yeah, I can fucking do this. I can get through it.
But I feel motivated as well to actually try and make something of it. Whereas before, I was quite content in just sitting there and not really getting much else out of life, except looking forward to drinking and doing drugs.
The other thing that becoming sober does to you is this, like, pure, if I got through that, I can fucking get through anything.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about this actually, because there is that, what do I still, or I'll ask you the question, do you still have feelings towards drinking, or do you still have those moments where you, in your head, where you think, oh, I could go back to this, or like you start thinking about the times like, oh, they were quite fun, like, could I go back for one day and then just quit again for like for whatever time, a year?
It happened to me recently where I felt quite annoyed, and I was like really pissed off, and I just thought, I was like, I could literally just go get a 3-5 cat and just fucking go space out. And then it made me realize that the only thing about that was that it was escaping what was in front of me. And I was like, but the thing that's annoying me has a clear, direct cause. Do I do something to avoid it and go and get drunk, or go and get cat and whatever? Or do I just wait and be with that and understand it? And yeah, it took all of a day to fucking work out. So, and doing cat wouldn't have solved it anyway. It would have just taken longer to solve. So yeah, I may have enjoyed it, but for me, I think out of all the things I've tried, all the experiences I've had, magic mushrooms is the fucking top of the pile. And there is a kind of urge to do them again when you've done them, but the things and the kind of realizations that I've come to from doing them is it's enough to know that no, you can't just keep banging this. It's not.
They're not
going to
be kind to you if you fucking
and it wasn't
them.
in the past.
They don't let you abuse them,
mate. They snaked me when
you start abusing them.
Started doing mushrooms too much, and it was just like. But looking back at it, I took too much too quick. In a tea, and I drank the tea too quickly.
But you wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for that experience. So it's like they were just telling you, "Yo, fucking don't do that again," and now you treat it with a lot more respect. Which that's what these substances need. They need respect.
I had an insane experience on mushrooms like a week ago. I know I've been talking about sober, but I don't look at mushrooms in the same category or class as all of these other things. It's in my mind what it does.
Reprograms your brain.
It just it boots you back up. And doing mushrooms the first time, even though I was kind of down for a period whilst I was drinking and doing care, I wouldn't say I ever felt depressed since I did the mushrooms. When I say depressed, I'm talking like a long period of real low mood and all of the things that are associated with that. There are obviously things that got me down, but there was always a direct cause. And I think that alcohol was just an escapism from that, of not solving that problem head on. And yes, I'd definitely say since doing mushrooms, I'm a totally different person. And even in the last week, I can see a lot of changes in my personality. And on the surface, a lot of them have been negative. Like I've had a lot of kind of, I don't know if you'd call them clashes with people, or having some different perspective has kind of put me out of sync with people at points. But I think as I kind of understand it more and develop on what experience I've had, that it will ultimately be a positive thing for me. And the main thing that I actually felt was, I was actually sat here, I was listening to Sadhguru on YouTube, and he was talking about wearing black clothes and absorbing the energy in the room. And I was wearing everything black, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna get undressed. And I just sat on my yoga mat in my boxers, and I was like, this thing, just my whole body just felt so energetic, and like I was like excited and happy. And then I started stretching for a bit, and then I was stretching, and I just had this thing come over me that it was almost like an ego dissolution type dissolve moment of feeling just part of the environment. There was I think there was points in the past where I would like judge myself about what I was thinking, or for example tripping over or saying something in front of someone and feeling embarrassed. It just came over me of this feeling of none of this reasoning that you attach to things actually bears any importance. You know, there's an action, there's a reaction, there's an experience. Whatever you want to fucking say about it is up to you. And I think there's this example of what Sadhguru was talking about, is that we're like masters at knotting up our lives. There's if you take a piece of string and you have two fixed points, like your life, you have a start point and an end point. In a piece of string, if you hold it like that, can you start tying knots in the middle of it? He's like, obviously not. So how do we do that in our lives? we've become masters in tying knots. You're so good at tying knots, you can fucking tie knots in a piece of string that you don't change the start and end point of, because your brain can create so many issues in this middle part of this piece of string that you then start to live within these knots and start to experience life as if that's it. But realistically, it fucking starts and it ends, and what you make of it in the middle is your life. So
fucking make the most of it. Just fucking
like, what? I don't want to waste it. I don't want to escape it. I'm just here. Yeah. I'm just here in the environment. There's this thing happening. You get some feelings, and sometimes it feels good. Sometimes it doesn't feel good.
You just got to try find the things that do feel good and work hard on them.
I think if you chase the things that feel good, that's kind of a bit different, maybe, to what you're saying. I think you can. I mean, you can't avoid it. You can't avoid things that don't feel good. You're going to experience things that don't feel good.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
At some point, your body's going to deteriorate, maybe so much that it's like difficult to move, difficult to do tasks which are normal to you today. And what are you going to do about it? You're going to fucking get upset, or you're going to get on with it?
I think there's a funny way of thinking about it, but I think of everything that I do, I try not to make me happy now. I try to make my future self happy. Because if I think about me drinking, that makes me happy now. That doesn't make my future self happy. So like, and also like, if I go out for a run and I really push it, and I think that doesn't make me happy now. When I'm running, I'm not really happy. Do you know what I mean? I'm not like, sometimes I am, but when I'm like really fucked and like,
that's just a long-term mindset. That is just an analogy for a long-term mindset. You're willing to experience a difficult situation now for a long-term benefit.
Yeah, for future happiness.
And this is the difference of drinking, for example, is you prioritize short-term gratification over long-term well-being. You will quite happily allow your future self to be in a worse off position by enjoying yourself momentarily now. And it's just like, is that actually worth it? And the on the flip side of that, the pain that, for example, you'd go through running to have a long-term benefit from it is not actually that bad, and it's far less bad than if you prioritize short-term gratification and experience the negative long-term effects of that. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to fuck your whole life and it's going to be really difficult to get out of it. Or you're going to do things today that are going to actually help you in the long run. And those things are worse than the long-term negative effects of doing that 100%. Shit now. Yeah. Bad shit now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm pretty fucking happy with that, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm happy with that.
I think we've been going for a while, haven't we?
Yeah. I'm not sure how long.
It's got to be near on the 2 hours, I think.
Really?
I think so.
I reckon about an hour and a half. Hour and 40 minutes, something like that. Well, we'll soon find out. Yeah, I think we got hit a lot of good points there. After talking this, I can think of probably another 3 hours of conversation. I don't have it in me right now. But I can think of so many I think situations that people would relate to, of things with their parents or their family or their friends, and seeing people that they're close to having issues.
Just finishing up, what message, there is someone in your position that you were in, what would you tell them right now?
Face your problems head on. If you bury your head from your problems, those problems are going to just like keep your head buried in, because they're going to just all pile on top of you. And strengthen yourself. You don't strengthen yourself by using your free time to indulge in substances that affect you negatively in the long term. People that use all of their weekends to do shit like drinking for 3 days are stuck in that position of having to work from Monday to Friday. If you want to do that for the rest of your life, then fucking good luck to you, mate. But if you don't, the good thing to understand is that you can change it, you can do something about it, and you can face those problems head on. And once you're used to doing that, if you're not doing that already, it's not very difficult. So this grand problem that all these people feel like they need to overcome to stop drinking, and the problems that I think people find in their lives, like what I found in my life, would, if it presented itself to me today, would not even be a fucking consideration of doing something to escape it. It would just be like, that is the fucking most minuscule thing, and it will take me all of 2 minutes to overcome it in my mind. That's it. Don't escape your problems. Just fucking face it head on.
Yeah. I would say you are loved, and the world is not against you. Just don't stop thinking that the world's against you. You are 100% loved, and the energy for love is always there, and you can always tap into it. So meditate, be one with everything, and yeah, just you are loved. Don't think that the world's against you. But yeah, thanks for listening, people.
Thank you very much.
Take care.